Okay, good evening everybody. Sorry for a few days, got a couple of IT problems. Don't worry, we can manage that at the moment. Welcome to, this is the Plans B Committee of the Town Council. And one housekeeping thing for you all. This meeting is recorded by video, so as long as you're all happy to be seen on video when we log it onto the system the next couple of days, very welcome to stay. If I can just, we'll go through the agenda and I'll explain all that in a moment. Have we any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chairman, we have apologies from Councillor Penfield, who's been
Thank you very much indeed. Right, on the declarations of interest, I'm declaring an interest on behalf of all of us for application 5/2016-1512, which is 15 West Common Grove, Harpenden. The applicant is known to all members of the committee, so we will not. He's also a district councillor, so we will not be making comment on this application. One of the things that I usually start off and do explain, I'll just accept the minutes of the previous meeting and I'll go into that part. Are we all happy with those who were here at the last meeting held on the 17th of May?
Yes.
I'll just sign these, then we... Do we have any public questions?
No, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, just before we start going through the agenda, I just mentioned that we will do the Harpenden House Hotel application first. But if I can just explain to those of you who probably haven't been to the planning committee before, we at the Town Council sit here in purely an advisory capacity. We have no power. The ultimate decision in all applications, whether it be the hotel or an extension in the house, is taken by the district council. The majority of the decisions are taken by an officer at the council. Certain of the decisions come to committees, Plans North, which I mentioned earlier I sit on, or indeed Plans Referrals, which probably the hotel one will come to. We will all be notified of when it is coming on the agenda, and then the same rules apply to there. An applicant can speak for 3 minutes, as indeed anybody opposition can speak for 3 minutes at the district council, as and when it comes before. Right, Harpenden House Hotel. This is application 5/2016-0669 and 5/2016-0817. Now, I realise that this application has come before Plans A, I think twice or 3 times, and the plans now have been amended again, so I'm throwing it open to my committee, led by Councillor Williams, to make his comments on.
Okay, are we going to listen to the speakers first?
Oh yes, sorry, let's have the speakers first, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, we'll do it, do you want support? First?
Yeah, we have
The applicant first. It took you 3 minutes. Come to the desk. As I say, my apologies, sorry. John Ross. Thank you, David, sorry.
Can I take a name?
Yes, it's Jonathan Collins.
Over to you.
So, as you say, we've been through to the committee a few times before, so really we're going to talk about previous, not going to talk about the scheme in lots of detail, but we are going to talk about the changes we've done since you last saw it, and I draw your attention to some of the drawings that are on the table, and we'll be highlighting some of those as we go through. But firstly, thanks for allowing us to talk at the meeting, and I'm going to read hopefully just under 3 minutes now. So our previous scheme was considered by the Town Council in January 2016. We've been working hard since then to further improve the scheme in light of St Albans officers' comments and to incorporate the suggestions made at that Town Council meeting. The main change is the reconfiguration of Block A from a U-shaped almshouse block to a reduced-scale L-shaped block. The majority of the block has been reduced to 1 storey, so the listed building can be seen from across the common. That's labelled number 1 on the plan. Many of the other changes are as a response to the Town Council's comments, and I address each of those in turn, and they're from the minutes that we got from the last meeting. Firstly, there were concerns regarding the accuracy and integrity of the CGIs, or computer-generated images. The previous CGIs were unrendered images of the computer model and were used to build the scheme in the computer. The views provided here with this application and also in the handout show accurate images of what the scheme will look like. We have had these views surveyed, formally measured and verified. The committee also felt that the CGI did not reflect the quality of the materials or the detailing necessary. The existing building has a variety of brickwork shades and bonds due to its complicated history. The proposed scheme uses brickwork in light red colour with dark headers in a Flemish bond, clay roof tiles to match the existing buildings, and white windows to tie in with the overall character of the area. The design intent is for clean, simple detailing with high quality materials that don't compete with the listed building. Concern was expressed at the last meeting about the full-length glazing on the South Down Road elevation of Block A. This has been removed from the scheme in favour of more traditional windows and door proportions and finishes. That's on page 6 of the briefing document that we've handed out earlier. The almshouse gable design has also been changed in favour of more traditional fenestration, following concerns received, and blocks A and B have been redesigned to improve the relationship of the dwelling with the listed buildings. The committee was concerned about the impact upon Arden Grove residents, and in particular whether there is a tolerable level of privacy given the window-to-window distances in the previous scheme, labelled 2 on the attached plan, the A3 plan. The rear buildings of the new proposals have been moved further away from Arden Grove, and the window-to-window distances are now 24.4 and 23.7 metres respectively from numbers 13 and 14 Arden Grove. We would draw your attention to policy 70, which states that alternative methods of achieving tolerable levels of visual privacy through such factors of screening and disposition of land uses will normally be acceptable. And we are proposing screening along the boundary, and it is considered that an acceptable level of privacy has been achieved and the policy complied with. We would also draw your attention to the Pegasus Life appeal decision issued in January, immediately behind this building, concluding that a back-to-back distance of 18 to 20 metres for 2.5 to 5-storey buildings in a comparable town centre location were found acceptable. The amenity of residents living within the scheme was also questioned, including the residents of the almshouses with full-length glazing and shared open courtyard. This has been changed in favour of a more traditional configuration with private rear gardens to Block B, labelled 3 on the plan, smaller fenestration and a row of semi-mature trees to provide screening and privacy. There is an increase in the space given over to landscaping in general, as requested at previous committee. Semi-mature trees are proposed to create maximum benefit from the moment that they are planted. Screening is proposed throughout the site and increased planting along the boundary with Arden Grove, labelled 4. We have worked very hard to address the previous comments of the Council and continue to work closely with officers also at St Albans. Thank you. I'll be here for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. You can just give your name to the time.
Ben Huggins.
Yes.
Good. You likewise. 3 minutes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The 2 applications under consideration tonight do not come close to complying with current planning policy. The change of planning use from hotel use to residential use and comply with current planning policy, the applicant needs to provide evidence that the hotel is no longer commercially viable to operate. The hotel was previously owned by High Cross, who in 2012 made a commercial decision to exit the hotel sector and concentrate on other core assets of the company. Hence, in 2012, High Cross instructed its agents, Colliers International, to dispose of all 5 hotels within the portfolio. During the same year, High Cross confirmed within its annual review of 2012 that our portfolio of 5 hotels across the UK has performed well during the year despite the difficult economic climate. Colliers International have confirmed that offers were received to operate the hotel as a going concern. The only reason the hotel was sold to the applicant as opposed to a hotel operator is that High Cross achieved a high price based on a speculative residential development value as opposed to a market value based on a hotel use. Although there are no planning grounds for a change of use to residential use, I've been asked by a large number of residents to also point out where the proposed scheme fails to meet current planning policy. Examples being, the application proposes to construct buildings to the front of the hotel grounds, therefore blighting the view from Harpenden Common of the Georgian Grade 2 style listed building and its setting. For current planning policy to be met, any building line would be much further back, so the view of the Grade 2 listed building and its setting is not in any way obstructed from the views from Harpenden Common and the surrounding area. Block E to the rear of the Grade 2 listed building is excessive in height and would be visible above the listed building when viewed from Harpenden Common and the surrounding area. The window distances between Block D and numbers 13 and 14 Arden Grove are less than 3 metres less than required by Policy 70 of the local plan. The 2 large very first floor windows in Block D are excessive in size, out of character with the houses in the vicinity. Their size and proximity intrude on the privacy in the houses in Arden Grove and their gardens. Therefore, if any permission were ever granted, then all existing screening vegetation within 4 metres of the boundary with the properties in Arden Grove should be retained. Finally, we don't know this for a fact, but the proposed scheme does not appear to provide sufficient amenity space, and there is no provision for affordable housing.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I've had the benefit of seeing all these applications before, and when we've considered the previous applications, we as a committee focused on a series of points, and unfortunately we've not been able to get these up on the screen or share them with you beforehand. But can I just go through them very quickly?
Yeah.
And then I will reflect on some of Mr. Collins' points and some of Mr. Huggins' points. And then perhaps we'll open it up for discussion. So, what were we looking at when we were considering this before? Firstly, the principle of development, including change of use. Well, actually, let me make a few comments as I'm going through here, because that was obviously something that Mr. Huggins raised. For the previous applications, I'll quote from our responses. Whilst regretting the loss of the town's remaining hotel, the committee supports the change of use of this sustainable town centre site to C3 residential. Now, part of that was influenced by, there was a hotel study, there was a financial study that was provided with one of the earlier applications, highlighting how they had sought to market the hotel for, I think, a couple of years from 2012. And I think it's probably fair to say that the committee, having seen that study and then reflected on the marketing and recognising where we are, the committee previously came to a view that with regret, nevertheless, we supported the change of use to C3 residential. Impact on the character and appearance of the existing properties, the street scene and the conservation area. Now, impact on existing properties, particularly the issue in relation to Arden Grove, and we've heard that mentioned. We've heard the architect highlighting how they've extended the distance, and you can see figure 2 on the plan. But then another very contentious point is the proposal about the cottages, as they're known, at the front of the development. Now, if you've had a chance to look at the design and access statement, you'll see that up until, I think it was the 70s, there were properties at the front of the building. Now, that's not to say that it makes sense to reinstate them. And I'm sure much of our discussions will come back to the changes that have been made to Block A, the appearance from the common, some of these verified images, but I think we probably better come back to that separately because it's quite a key point. Sorry, that was character and appearance of and the street scene and the impact on the conservation area. The third point was impact on residential amenity of nearby and neighbouring properties, and that's particularly the Harpenden Grove issue. Living conditions for future occupiers, including amenity space. We've heard a little bit about amenity space. We've also heard about how blocks A and B have been reconfigured from the so-called arms house style. Some of our colleagues also referred to them as the beach hut style, so the series of gables on some of these blocks. But we've heard from Jonathan Collins that that's been changed. Impact on trees and ecology, parking provision and highway safety, whether the previous reasons for recommending refusal have been overcome, other issues raised by residents, and then expectations in terms of conditions mitigating the impact on local services and planning obligations. Now it's probably worth saying there that, and just closing that point off, because it was a point raised by Mr. Huggins, what we previously said was, finally, this represents a significant development for the town, and the committee expects the district council to negotiate planning obligations that mitigate its impact on local services and secures a commitment from the developer to provide affordable housing either on or off site. And certainly I would see no change, no reason to change that. That's the final point. So let me just scamper through a few points. If I go back to the original design, the very first planning application that Fairview brought forward, different architects, different planning consultants, and what have you, there were some real concerns about the nature of the two big blocks. And the big block at the back here, I forget what it was called, there was a massive balcony on there. It was very dominant in the street scene, and it became known as the Benidorm bit of the development just because of the profusion of the balconies. The other block, there was then a second block facing Harpenden Grove, and that had a huge roof form, and that became known as the Pizza Hut building. You see how we use these terms to get a speaking right. But the roof form, pitched roof form, it was just out of proportion to what was there. So the second planning application addressed a number of those concerns. At the last time that the plans came forward, as you know, we decided that we would defer consideration, knowing that the applicant was having further discussions with officers in St Albans, and as Jonathan Collins has highlighted, consequences of that include the points that he raised. Just knocking off a couple of those, he referred to our concerns from the previous application about CGIs, and the important thing then was that they brought forward verified images, and it has to be said that we did have some concerns about the last report that came forward, because the verified images, and again it's repeated in this, they don't really pick up the view straight on. They're picking up oblique views from up near the parking point, so beyond the car park. But they weren't picking views sort of across from the Silver Cup, which would then also show how you would see into the development. Now, one of the things they've done, I think in response to the planning officer's concerns, was this driveway going into the development, which is included in these images here. They put some vegetation and a little kink in the driveway, so the view going up doesn't look straight into the entrance to the car park. And I think, so in that sense they responded to some door properties. But I would have preferred to have seen an image from further back, so you begin to see the relationship between the new buildings and the old buildings. So I would have preferred to have seen more of these verified views from slightly different big angles. But clearly these are a significant improvement in terms of accuracy over and above the CGI that were originally provided. Mr. Collins mentioned materials. I think it's very hard for this committee to come to a view on materials, and the way that we addressed that before was effectively subcontracting that out to the heritage officer of the district council. I think we've had the experience of looking at the CGI, for instance, for the various child developments, including the Glen Eagle, and it's only when the thing's built out can you really come to a judgment that they got the materials right, and presumably they got those right in conjunction with the planning officer signing off on various products and what have you. Mr. Collins raised points about the glazing and the armhouse approach. The previous application, as far as the cottages, which clearly are a contentious part of the new development, I've got any of these. They very much, in contrast to, is that the previous?
Yeah, so that's the...
Okay, excellent. Perfect, thank you. So the various schemes that existed before had the biggest bulk in the middle of the development, so nearest to the entrance and to the Grade 2 style of the property. And then effectively what you were seeing from the common was people's backdoor views. There were a series of French windows, or glass sliding patio doors, which looked distinctly inappropriate. And in fact, from the latest design and access statement, a number of pictures have been included of the various properties going down South Down Road. So Hydean, is it Hydean, the bigger one, the Quaker Meeting House, and then the cottages, and of course they're all looking onto the common. Now, candidly, I think what's now being proposed, certainly in terms of the end property, is quite successful, because it appears to have a proper front door facing onto the common. Is it in the verified view? Okay, yeah. So you can see now that the bulk is at the Lord's Hall end. There is one patio door still left there, I think. It may have gone. This feature at the end of the sort of Georgian portico, I think is actually quite successful. However, there remains the issue as to whether, whilst accepting that they've responded to some of the concerns, there nevertheless remains the issue about the cottages. So then, the other thing that I would highlight is that in relation to the so-called armed houses, which were built around courtyards, which are illustrated very well here. So you have these U-shaped courtyards. An issue was the living conditions for people living in those properties, because the back-to-back distances were not great. And I know that was a concern of the planning officers. So as a consequence, one consequence of that is the change of the cottages at front to an L shape, and then also the design of this courtyard up at the top here. I suspect that the developer hasn't fully met the expectations of the district council in terms of window-to-window distances. Okay. For both blocks A, B, blocks B and these ones up here.
Yeah, we negotiated an agreement with them on what the acceptable window distance should be.
Okay, so you haven't met what they put in their original letter.
It doesn't comply with the policy, which is 27 metres, because that's for suburban housing, back-to-back with a fence in the middle. But there's a 23 metres back-to-back distance, but there we've got much more than that, and 20 metres front door to front door distance. So they comply with that. So the middle one is widened out by much more.
So, I would say that some of the principal considerations that remain include the issue of the cottages, the issue of the relationship with Arden Grove, other things. Those are the principal concerns I would have. And it would be interesting that now that you've seen the scheme layout and you've seen these verified photos, it would be interesting to reflect on them with colleagues on those key issues, as well as anything else, of course, that we've asked to make sure along the way.
Thank you very much. It's a good start.
Could we just, what would you like to raise? Could we just clear up the issue of the window-to-window distance with the properties in Arden Grove? Because I think that Mr. Huggins said that they were 3 metres less than window distances, or 3 metres less than the requirement.
It's a guidance, unfortunately. It's in our local plan, which is a few years old now, as most of you know. We have tried to enforce it, but sadly the planning inspector recently, when things have gone to appeal, has overridden those rules. As Mr. Huggins mentioned, the applicant mentioned the James Marshall House behind us here. They accepted a much lower distance, which we weren't expecting. It's a grey area. Unfortunately, we don't have the benefit of our planning officers, the planning officer in St Albans report and their guidance in this particular aspect. Okay.
Okay, I mean, I can see that the screening is also meant to mitigate
But my observation would be, Rob, that given what we said before, essentially what we said before, while supporting the principle and welcoming critical improvements over the withdrawn scheme, that was the balcony and all the rest of it, concern was also expressed with regard to the impact on Arden Grove residents and properties. So, we still got the option.
Yes, we can still
if we still feel that is concern.
Yeah, so
couple of things. First of all, I too was concerned about the images, but also it would be nice to see ones that were directly facing on, so you could get a real perspective of what was going to happen. So I am concerned with the cottages, and I think it is an improvement on the previous scheme, which I do think was a bit too overbearing, a bit overshadowing. I think more generally, and this goes back to David's point and also Mr. Huggins' point about the development of the site. I do support the development of this site. I think it's valuable housing in the centre of Harpenden that we do need at this time. And also in terms of affordable housing, I know the District Council will come to a good arrangement on affordable housing and using budget somewhere in the district where we can get the most benefit from it. I'm also happy to take guidance on this. I'm also concerned about the distance still with Arden Grove. It feels to me like this is a bit too much on one site, which I know is what we were talking about before, but I know that's why they've changed it, and they've changed what is labelled number 1 and lots of cottages, and it's become smaller. And I do appreciate the fact that there's more screening on this application than there was on the last one, I think, so that's an improvement as well. And also, I was intrigued, so the main hotel, because I know we're talking about, here what we're really talking about is the stuff that's going around the main hotel, this building at the moment, but it's the hotel building as it is, because it's creating listed, is that just being converted internally, and that's going to have to say.
I mean, to be honest, when these previous applications came forward, because we know that English heritage are going to be all over what goes on in the house, we haven't given
that was more of an interest. The other thing that I am a bit concerned about, because that part of, and I know this was part of the points that were raised before, and so I still think that the third point we raised about the impact of Arden Grove residents still stands, and I'm also still concerned about the parking and the access and that particular road, just because if you're putting that many properties there on this road, which is quite a narrow road that gets busy at school time anyway, I'm just very concerned that that part of that street is going to become slightly more unbearable. But I think that agreeing to the development, you can't have one without the other, I don't think.
No, I mean, Harpenden Road would be a statutory consultee, and I would expect them to come to a judgment about the safety of the junction, and because at the moment we've got the sort of in and out arrangements, what the hotels have been in and out arrangements, and it's proposed to have one access point here. They will need to have come to agree about whether it's safe or not. I mean, I've no doubt people will come down from the Hall Road roundabout, and it is a bit tricky around there because it tends to spin around that corner fairly quickly. But really, we need to leave that to Harpenden Road.
That's fine. That was,
building on what Georgia was saying, if the corporation refuse vehicle came down here, it would block the width of this road, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
the highways issue, I agree.
in the 176 pages of the design of access statement, I think the strategy for refuse is in there somewhere, I think, isn't it?
So that's something so that's like when we talk about the building regs and materials, that comes separately to what we're talking about.
Well, planners will be, they'll be, I would expect them to go over it. I mean,
I was going to say, firstly, looking at the street views, I don't think they look bad at all.
okay, how do you feel about the cottages, Rod?
Well,
in terms of,
I think it seems to be adequately screened.
and those gateway views across the common, which would be, well, let's say that one.
Yes.
So you've got Lord's Hall, and then the cottages, and then you're just seeing the great Sulis's house behind, which of course is rather different from today, because you see straight across it.
No, I
But of course you
agree,
also
yes.
see, you know, what I haven't said and what nobody said is that if we do accept that this has a future as a hotel, and we're prepared to see 3 Street C Street residential, then one of the advantages of this site is that it's very sustainable, it's in the centre of town, and without causing damage to the conservation area and the street scene. Ideally, we would wish to see as dense a development on this site as possible. That means we need to accept increasingly that in the centre of the town, greater density is good, particularly if it means that we don't have to give up so much of the green belt.
Okay. And another point to add on that actually is that when you do look at the view from Harpenden Common, page 6 of the verified view, the cottages do look as if they flow into the landscape, as it were. They don't. I think also there's a tree in the way, which way you can't see where the window is. You can't see the door there, but they do look as if they flow along that road.
Well, certainly that property,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can see the white outline of the front door. I don't know if it is the front door, it's the back door, but it, you know, when you then look across the rest of the street scene, it seems much more coherent to me. Question mark whether the remainder of it does, but it's a lot better than it was, and presumably these are heritage style roof lights in the roofs here.
Chair, am I able to make a comment about the cottages?
Can be.
So the previous scheme, the buildings had the 2-storey element on the left-hand side to try and relate to the Dean and create a gateway, and we had support from English Heritage for that approach. The conservation officer didn't support that approach and wanted a much more a building that related to the historic cottages that were there before, from the late 1700s to 1970. And we have some photos from 1950 which are in the document before they were demolished, and we were trying to reinstate that on very loose photographic information from 2 or 3 angles. So those cottages and the massing and the window positions, particularly of the from the dormers, are exactly the same as what were there on the historic cottages, and the cruciform gable on the other one, on the single story. So that's where we've been directed to the design of those cottages by the conservation area officer.
So it's restoring, going back to what was there before.
I mean,
it just seems to me that the main issue, which is already in the documentation, is with the residents in Harpenden Road.
Well,
we're getting there. I mean, it has improved each time you see it. Without knowing the feeling of the officers and dogs, it's very difficult to. I mean, it's like your access road. It looks lovely. There's no cars parked down it.
There are no car spaces on it.
Sorry?
There are no car parking spaces on it. And it's intentional.
There's nowhere else to park. Where the residents park.
There's 2 spaces per dwelling. One of them is an underground car park under the buildings to the rear.
So part of their agreement would be that there would be no parking along
Yes,
that.
with a management company monitoring no parking, there are
Would you
sensible car
put?
parking.
How would you manage the problem we have in Harpenden with people parking anywhere? Would you put electric gates on the front?
We wouldn't have electric gates, we'd have a management company,
Right.
and anyone parking on the site, it would be monitored and there'd be pumping. We would hope that the fact it's outside, it's not just sort of parking on the road, it's the outside of the houses, that having it managed at really busy times would stop that being an issue.
Right. And every property has two parking spaces?
There are 74 car parking spaces on the site, so there may be a couple of properties that only have one.
Right.
But
And so how many, eventually when you develop the Georgian building, how many, whatever you put in there, is going to be there?
there are 5
Parking.
flats
Right.
within the...
And they will also have 2 parking spaces? Right. Okay, thank you.
So, David's got how many units in total?
37.
Sorry.
And, I mean, just to elaborate on the parking, David, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's 1 parking space per unit in blocks A and B, adjacent to the units, so in front of the units. There are then visitor parking spaces, questionably whether there's enough, behind the old house. And then the rest of the parking spaces are accessed underneath the block at the top. And
The Arden Grove block or something?
yeah,
Right.
and then there is a subway, effectively, that comes out at the back of the house.
Okay.
Which would then enable, if you live in one of the cottages, for instance, and you've got 2 parking spaces, your way back is not necessarily via the road, it's to the sort of crossing point
My
here.
apologies,
So
sorry, I
you
couldn't
pop
pick that
out
up.
from the
Thank you.
car parking.
Sorry.
Right. Okay, sorry, I couldn't see.
No,
No,
that's
no.
absolutely fine. So that will be dug into the ground, so
Right.
it's all level then, and that will be at the same level as this because it changes up. So the ground floor and the ground floor are at very different levels at the back of the site, and so there'll be pedestrian access around there.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that, yes, thank you. Somebody plans to pick that up from there.
I think,
Right,
I think we
go
need,
to committees for suggestions that we can say.
I think we're very, especially as we're saying that this is a marked improvement on the other proposals that have come forward. It does feel like the architects have taken into consideration a lot of the points that we said and have been very mindful of that whilst doing so. In particular, some of the comments that the Planned Day Committee said. I think that we do want to see development on this site. I agree with Councillor Williams and saying actually this is a sustainable site in our town centre. And I do feel that this is a marked improvement. So I think saying that, I think it's something that we should look at. I don't know, obviously, if the other committees members of I think this is something that we should be looking at saying approval subject to, and
Approval from each of the parts of St Albans,
yeah,
the
as in,
heritage,
yeah,
archaeology,
yeah, as in subject to all of these bits and
is that
pieces.
how the rest of the committee's feeling?
That it's
Councillor Williams?
Well, if I highlight what we've said before, we talked about the full length glazing on the South End Road elevation. Okay, well that's sort of, we think that's been addressed and we can sort of cover that when we can express our appreciation for how the architects have now addressed this. The proliferation of the arms house gable design, we know that that's changed. I've got a slight concern that it looks a bit ordinary, but again this comes back to the CGI. It almost looks from that image, those images, those elevations there, it almost looks a bit like social housing. I think it's brutally honest. I mean, and the architect's going to
Elegantly simple.
elegantly,
Or social housing.
but it's very difficult on the CGIs like this, and certainly if we were in Southwold before, and they weren't arms houses, they were they look more like each other to a degree. So, was this your design as well? Have I upset you twice?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm used to it.
So, our second concern has gone. I think we are saying that we're still expressing concern about the Arden Grove issue, and really, that needs planning officers with their tape measures, with their laser measurement and what have you, to satisfy themselves and take into account the sort of screening that the applicant has put forward. Living conditions for future occupiers and the lack of privacy associated with back-to-back. Still some concern. There are an awful lot of. For instance, there were comparisons with the Maple building in Clarence Road, which is an iconic building, and they were comparing the distances there. Well, that was built in the 19th century. I'm not interested in comparing distances from that to this. This just needs to be right for the way that people live now, etc. But I think it has improved significantly. I don't know if it warrants expressing concern, to be honest. Now, clearly it has been improved, and there's obviously the district council are on the case in terms of these window-to-window distances and the privacy issue. Insufficient landscaping detail. Well, I think we've seen that improve as well. So really, I might be asking for a few more of these verified views. It would have been ideal if there were a few more of these verified views, by the silver cup, as you sort of just look at it from different angles. But they have provided the verified views. We've got rid of the CGI. We're putting the marker down about materials. We're putting the marker down about planning obligations.
Take guidance from the arts.
Okay.
Well, I think that's
I'm sorry, just building on Councillor Williams' points. I just think that it's expressed concerns on the two issues on this document, which was the impact of the Arden residents and basically just this whole issue about general design lack of privacy and glazing.
Well, I think they've addressed that.
Anybody who purchases one of the properties knows that it's not like it's being changed with somebody already living there.
So we're left really with one main concern.
Yes, which is the one main concern, which we would need guidance from the officers exactly on the distance from Arden Road.
But apart from that, are there questions?
So we're getting there.
I mean, in fairness to Mr. Huggins, he also mentioned amenity space. And I think there's a balance to be struck here between the space that's available on the site, to recognise this is right adjacent to the common, the issue about density, which there's a balance to be struck, but for a town centre, sustainable town centre location like this, we, I think, should be looking to get a degree of density, which obviously can't go hand in hand with significant levels of amenity. There is guidance in the planning policy, isn't there? Can you explain me to me?
We do seem to be...
But then I forget
open plan developments seem to be moving those goalposts, yes.
So I think that there is perhaps a comment in there, and what I would suggest, Chair, is that I'm more than happy to draft minutes, you then to look at and decide if you're happy with those. But maybe there is something in there about acknowledging this balance between a reasonable level of density and the amount of amenity space on site.
So,
in conclusion, what we're trying to say is that we're accepting the improvements, version 3, version 4, whatever it is, which is a marked improvement from what we started off with. We still have a couple of concerns, which we'll show in the minutes. We do need guidance from our senior officers in St Albans on this one, because we don't walk around with tape measures and what have you to measure these. On their officer guidance, because if they turn it down, that's their decision in that respect, rather than in that respect. Obviously we'll comply with everything else, with materials, whether it be 106 or affordable housing or whatever else they're going to insist that we provide somewhere, in conjunction with the development. We will get this written up. We will get a copy of the decision anyway that we've made. But that's as far as we can take it tonight. As I said, we have no power. We just make our comments, which go forward to St Albans. Thank you for the people on the other side of the fence as such. We're obviously in a difficult situation here to keep the balance between everywhere, because we have no power in that respect. I think if it does come to one of the planning committees in St Albans, where there are 8 members of one, I think 12 of the other, whichever committee it actually comes to, it could be an interesting discussion, and then we'll have our officers' information and guidance, which guides us a lot better than we're here. We're pure councillors here, and they can only analyse the information we've got in front of us.
I may be speaking out of turn, but may I, with the permission of the applicant, just bring one small point to the committee's attention?
In this instance, I will do if he's quick.
It's just last week that some late information was made available to the public, the new views, and one that I think should perhaps ensure that the committee is taking consideration of is the one shown here, of the view up the driveway, because this identifies the slope of the road going up the driveway, such that it has reached a point where it's 1.6 metres higher than the bay window at the back of the outside of the hotel there, so that you can no longer look out, which when the previous scheme was going to be a garden between blocks A and B, you're now looking at a wall of the road sloping up. And directly opposite, the large window in the second block back is block B that has been moved forward. It was further up the slope before, it was high up. It has moved forward, it is still high, and is now alongside the side elevation of the hotel. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration.
Our officers will look at it in detail with magnifying glasses, and will again guide us accordingly as and when it comes to a committee in St Albans. Thank you for that information.
I'm grateful for you highlighting that, actually, because I think it's a fair point, and I almost think it's worthy of expressing concern.
When we're drawing up the...
Yeah, because if so, the previous scheme where you had the which was sort of echoing how it used to be, the sort of formal gardens that went out to the south in front of the old house. You have this quite attractive green space going down in front of the house with the blocks on either side, and what's being highlighted now is that because of the gradient of the road, those views are locked because you've got the gable end of one of the blocks directly in front of the hotel, but you've also got this gradient going up. Now I suspect the English Heritage will be all over that.
That hasn't changed.
It hasn't said much to it.
That hasn't changed from previous, but
Hasn't
both
it?
is the same.
Okay.
That isn't, you aren't looking at a wall, that's as it was before.
or we can just raise a concern and in our conclusion. We'll just put it on, the planning officer will either mention it or will say it's not effective. Or it's not appropriate. Thank you for those comments. Audience, as far as I can take it, in our committee, thank you for the information you've provided us tonight. Are we able to keep a set of these?
Yeah, of course.
That we supply? Thank you very much. We don't need all of them. I'm sure you can.
Many of them.
Because you might need.
Can we put the bound version of the?
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
You might need. What I would say is, if you have any information, whichever committee it comes to in St Albans, it cannot be produced on the night, as you probably know. Any paperwork has to be in the offices, I think, 48 hours before, because the officers have to check that facts that we've been given are correct. So if this had been produced at St Albans, it would have been null and void and been given back. Sorry, I'm not trying to be unkind, but I'm sure you probably know planning rules better than I do, but it's just, we're a little bit different here, but we try and keep everybody happy.
Great.
Thank you very much for, and obviously you'll be given a copy, sent a copy of what actually the conclusion we came to, that's the gist of what we're going to say. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We've got a landscape architect design for the trees. That will then be passed on to the management and they'll have a very clear planting watering schedule.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll give you those because you might be using those. So we keep this out here.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for that. That's really useful. And sincere thanks, David. We were obviously without having disgrace, we were really pleased to hear with your information. That was very useful. Right, I'll go back to the beginning now. Yes, that's up here. Right. Shut the door now. It is difficult. I understand what the neighbours are saying.
You just need to press the button. No, there's a button on the restraining device itself.
It's on the side of the finger.
Hang on.
That red.
Are you happy with David right now? I think it
Oh, no, that's fine. So then it's going to be on the video now. Sorry, people.
You're happy to write it down and pass it on to you. No, thanks very much. It saves time to do it word for word now. Right, back to page 9. Start off, go through it now. First thing I'm not worried about, certificate of lawfulness. I don't think you're making a comment on that one. Non-material amendment.
Now that's actually been refused. When I looked today.
Oh.
Oh, is it?
Have they already made it?
It's been determined, yeah.
Which one?
Right.
The first
Sorry.
one?
Oh, I
The
didn't.
second one, the
Smart
park
rise.
rise.
So this is smart rise.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right, sorry.
Oh, that's rubbish smile.
I didn't look at these on the, I looked at everything else on the internet. I didn't look at the, so, right. Right, Stephen's up to date. Right, 5/2016-1549 block conversion. As always, my biggest bugbear, provision for parking. Don't think there is any.
Well, there are two spaces, I think. aren't
Yes,
there?
but I mean, no additional.
No.
No.
So the design was fine, but I think that's appropriate.
exactly what you're saying, the concern. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I looked at this one, and I could see 2 cars parked on the house next to it, which had the same route driveway. And I thought, only definitely room for 2 cars.
Next one, 5/2016-1569. Single story rear extension. Again, I can see there's been no comments from any neighbour. No objections. So the
Yeah.
next one we're not commenting on, that's Stevens.
So there's a form of words will use in there.
Are you all declaring an interest?
Yeah, we have to
When
each own the
you're all-
association.
Right,
Yeah.
let me just
We
look.
can,
Yep, no, there is a form of words. and
if you look back to my application, it's exactly the same words as
Right, okay, that's
David
fine,
said
yeah.
this morning. From
Yeah. Where's that one?
He's probably got it in his machine. In fact, we look at it online. I'll switch mine off. Five 2016, 1528, single-storey rear extension, 39 Trebles Road. Exactly what you say. It's conservation area, as long as they're complying with all the bits and bobs. Everybody in Trebles Road seems to be adding something on the back.
Yes.
Just on that, appropriate design and use of materials.
Oh, have I? Oh, yes, it is, isn't it? It's Christmas. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, David. He's better doing this than me. Right. Now the challenge, which seems to have gone on and on and on, although it did 2016, I've seen that 3 times. But 2016, 1541, discharge of conditions, again, I don't take that any further. 2016, 1545. It's got an interesting history, this one. It was refused in 2010. It was refused in 2010 for the impact on the next door house, bungalow. Next door's bungalow seems to be demolished and now has been rebuilt as a Shelley bungalow.
Right.
Very large.
Yeah.
So now, this current application, 22, is dominated by...
Is it? Okay, I can see how good it is.
No,
Well, I went on Street View and certainly some of the houses further down the road have are on steroids.
16, 14,
But next door was still okay on Street View, but clearly there's been an application.
Number 20 was owned by a lady who's lived there for many years, and then
so that
sadly
one,
died,
Something
and
the
the house was
precedent has
sold.
been set.
it has, yeah, so that one's
Right.
huge, but the property to the left, as you face it off, is
In other words,
still another little
24
bungalow.
is still small. So I would say, subject to not
I was concerned about the size.
concern.
What I was going to...
This is an exact copy at the moment. The planning is very similar to what's been built in the site of number 20.
Yeah, what I was going to say was that I was concerned that there are so many side windows here that do small. I didn't know whether that was going to have an impact on the small bungalow next to
Which will be 24 going up the hill.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 24 is the problem now, right?
Well, I mean, we can just say subject to the tenant who've outgrown the bungalow.
I wasn't sure about the parking once this thing has been done.
Because there are 6 bedrooms going in this house, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes, there are.
Oh, right, so I thought it was only 5. Actually.
It has got a big front garden which they could use. I know at the moment we've got a drive which takes 2 or 3 cars at the moment. So we can say, well, open to suggestions. I mean, it was refused before, very similar application actually in 2010, but things have moved on since then.
It's bigger than the last application.
It is bigger than the last application. I mean, it could be, they could have just gone and said, well, let's put the maximum in and see what they will agree to. So we could say we're concerned
About the size
about the size
and
Yeah.
bulk and the effect on
and the effect on
number
number 24.
That's right, yes.
However, we could even put a pointer note that says recognise the change in
The original reason for refusal.
the original reason for refusal, because
That's been rebuilt.
Because I think that's really being rebuilt. Because I think that is an interesting point, because otherwise they'll just say, well, Harpenden refused the same reasons last time, but actually it's not the same. We are happy with some form of development, but just not. We just want to make sure that it's the right size and the scale for that particular site, right?
I think you got it right, because last time, in 2010, we said no objection provided previous reasons for refusal have been addressed.
Yeah. So we're expressing concern regarding the size, bulk and scale, and on
Impact
on number 24.
Yeah.
However, this committee recognises that the original reason for refusal has been addressed by the development at number 20, and the committee does not oppose any and all development at, what's the right word for that? The committee does not oppose some form of development at this site. So some form of
a smaller development.
A smaller development at this site.
A smaller development. We've got very small back gardens.
Yeah.
Very small. Smaller than this, about half as big as this room.
Yeah.
So David, is that what's next door now? So it's almost a proper two-storey house.
Yeah.
Is that number 20 by the looks of it?
Yeah. That's what we do.
Oh, sorry, no.
Is that number 20? Or is that number? Is that number?
It's the one to the right.
Which is number? Yeah, because it's still under construction. It's still got all the halls.
I mean, it's still a dormer bungalow technically.
Yeah, I think that's what they agreed to put in.
I think their application is almost a mirror image from the side view.
Right. So, sorry, I was just trying to get that up. We're talking about, did I hear Georgie say that development, we agreed to the development principle, but just feel this is expressed in terms just a bit too much?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just qualified it by saying we accept one of the reasons for previous refusal has now been removed because the adjoining property has now been rebuilt.
Right.
Yeah.
So the domino effect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
An interesting one to watch that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if something happens to number 20. No, number 24. Okay, well, things like that.
It doesn't quite make sense. Express concern regarding size, bulk, scale and impact on number 24. The committee recognises the original reason for refusal has been destroyed.
Have been partially addressed by the rebuilding of number 20.
Rebuilding of number 20,
Yeah.
and therefore does not oppose some smaller development.
Yes.
That we want.
Yeah. We're not anti something, but I've just think 6 bedrooms is just.
So we want to express, well, we don't know if there's sufficient parking.
No. It's got quite a large front garden. Lots of people down there have paved their front gardens. You could actually get 4 cars in their front garden.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Right. 5 2016 1563 5 Longfield Road. Single-storey roof extension with roof lights. I think. Doesn't that come under permitted development?
It didn't quite comply with permitted development, and therefore they were told that they needed planning application.
Okay, fine.
No,
No, so refused it as permitted development, but then, you know.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So,
I agree with those recommendations.
Right, the next one, I'm going to add 2 together because it's in over green. It's 5 2016 1387 and 1684, both of which seem to be to do with signage. It's display of externally illuminated. I think, again, as long as they're complying with all the rules for conservation area listed to...
Yeah, basically just,
It's the name on the gable, isn't it?
yeah, on there, and they're just changing that sign there, and just replacing.
Yeah.
Quite straightforward.
I think they'll comply with use of what they're allowed to use on the road. So, we can go to the right. 5/2016, 1441, detached 5-bedroom dwelling with park basement and habitable loft space. Detached under garage, no vehicle access, driveway, and associated landscaping. I mean, St Albans gave permission in 2014 for a detached 5-bedroom dwelling with basement and habitable loft space. It's just been amended, really. We've just changed the design, as far as I can see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite familiar with the property because it's just behind us, and the previous applications were inordinately contentious because this has been built in the garden of another property. Now, when I saw that, which is what's now proposed, I thought, blimey, that looks ridiculous on the plot. And this is a plot which is very constrained because there are 2 oak trees with 3 protection orders, and all the previous applications have had to skirt around these previous applications. So anyway, go online, see the current application and see that. The approved application is that, which, whilst on 4 stories, i.e. there's a basement, a ground floor, a first floor, and they're building into the roof, seems incredibly less bulky and less dominating.
That really hurts my eyes.
However, if you then dig down and look at the footprint, it's barely changed. Other than they've now got this, they've got a single garage. It looks rather odd actually. The house is so big, and then you've got this titchy little single garage around it. But essentially, the house is still L-shaped around one of the TGO trees.
So they've managed to fit it in around between the 2 trees still, have they?
Yeah. So that's the approved scheme, which has the integral garage. And that's the new scheme, which is a little bit more bulky, but nothing like as bad as I thought it would be. So I'm struggling.
And the other thing is that it kind of, you do look at the new design and you do kind of think, well, it kind of starts to fit the area slightly.
It's such a huge plot. When I was outside, it's like, I didn't think it was that bad. But there is an objection on
the guys behind.
Yeah. It says this exceedingly large house has 3 floors overlooking our house and back garden. It appears even more intrusive than previously approved. I'll make it a reference number. We would request that any planning permission includes the requirement of top 4 windows over obscure glass. I don't think that's practical, is it? We have discussed this with the applicant. As these windows are for an ensuite bathroom, they should not be a problem, but will protect us from changes in the future. Subject to this, we deny the objection. So they're saying that the top windows are for an ensuite bathroom.
You wouldn't put clear glass in.
No, you wouldn't know.
No, then it's unlikely that there's some change for a bathroom.
They can stipulate that.
It would be.
I mean, the alterations I've found in the application, it's been pulled in 2 metres from the boundary, where it was previously 1.5. From the front boundary it was 3.6. It's 3.6 where it was 3.8 before, so it has moved that way. It's a single garage where it was formerly a double garage. It's now, I think, it's now detached. The house has extended onto part of the former double garage. How
It
does that
seems
get there?
strange that we've got a single garage.
And the basement's been reduced.
And how many bedrooms has it got?
5 in a study, I think.
Yeah.
Got 5 in a playroom.
Yeah.
Six to it.
Yeah. And the parking seems to have been changed out.
Yeah. Well, I'm guided by your...
Well, I don't know, I can't see other houses on the back of this, but it just seems it's so far away from everybody else that...
Yeah, I mean, having already got permission for a similar thing, although it's different design, it's very difficult to find a reason to refuse.
Yeah, do we want to write anything down about this,
Yeah, I think we should
this
do the
window?
subject to,
The obscured glass?
No, it would be compulsory.
It would be,
If it's a bathroom, would need to change the design.
yeah.
There is no bathroom.
We can say something.
Yeah. But no, you'll find in the conditions when the permission is granted, it will say that.
I think we need to reflect gentleman's consent or the resident's consent in the letter. So in terms of, we can say that we should take those, expect no objection subject to
Windows being...
the concerns of...
having obscure glass.
Yeah, I mean, I would be saying something, so if I look at the previous one, no objection subject to, no objection, subject to appropriate design and use of materials on this new dwelling in the conservation area. Suitable protection for
Windows that overlook neighbouring properties.
I just want to highlight the tree issue first. Suitable protection for the existing trees,
Sorry, yeah.
including the 2 oak trees with tree protection orders. You with me there?
Yep.
That's the only concern, building a basement.
And the provision of obscure glass in the windows, in the top story rear facing windows.
Yeah.
And then we'll have policy 85. Which is in conservation area.
Right, next one before we go. Right, next one, 2016-1632, single-storey rear extension with skylight, not conversion, 8 Marquis Lane.
So this is just fine.
Usual thing, concern on.
Yeah, because they've added the 3rd bedroom, haven't they? There's only street parking.
So, yeah. Absolutely, yeah, exactly what you said. Next one, 2016-1581, 128 Country Lane, single-storey rear extension, first floor side extension.
No objection.
No worries about that. 2016-1620 garage conversion, 59 Aussie Gardens. I think we've only got a garage and 1 parking space on the drive.
Well, actually,
Or do I get it wrong?
no, basically, you could have 2, you've got 2, where it is right now, is you've got 2 car spaces in the driveway,
Right.
plus the garage.
Right. Okay.
And I think that they're converting the garage, right? But it wasn't clear to me whether they were building into where the car parking spaces are, because on this plan view here, you've got like some gates here, so the garage is set back here, so you can get 2 cars there. Yeah. And then you've got this. So I wasn't sure. It seemed to me that they probably...
Is the garage to be converted, it's
Into
an
an
office?
office.
Oh, it's an office.
Push into an office.
Okay, so if it's converted to an office, fair enough. If it's converted to a bedroom.
Yeah. So I think they're probably all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's part of the house
But
anyway.
it's going to park the cars
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
You probably
So
don't.
there's no objection there?
Yeah.
No, no objection. Yep. Okay. 5,016, 1599, alterations to front elevation, first floor side, single story roof, extensions, with leaf rights, 31 Park Hill. Seems to have gone through Park Hill already tonight. And to you.
Well, this is quite a sort of modernist extension to the side, with a rather strange dormer window above the garage, and then a pitched roof above that, and then quite significant rear extension. I mean, I think the rear extension provides great family accommodation, and because the rear projection doesn't go out very far, I don't think it's going to have any significant impact on the neighbours. So I was really, because the property is on Park Hill, so there's quite a gradient going down. But my real concern was the rather odd-looking dormer windows and the impact that they would have on the street scene, and then the extent to which the extension to the side and the roof form dominates the building next door.
Exactly right. That's why I printed off next door's previous plans, because I wanted to see what, I thought, well, I'll have a look to see what planning permission they've got for their roof line, because I thought this was a really weird roof line that they've put in for on that side dormer, and because it's a semi, so I thought, well, I'll see what they've had next door. And their roof line looks quite normal, and I just thought it might throw it.
Oh, sorry, so the
Do you see what I'm saying?
roof line on
On the neighbour, on the attached property.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because if they've got a new roof line, surely the new one on this one should mirror it, right?
That was my attitude, and I looked at, I wanted to see what the streets, because Google isn't always correct.
Oh no. Well, I saw one of their cameras around the other day.
Yeah.
Honestly, they
But the roof line on
And
the
that one's
property to
really-
the right is kind of...
Yeah, but I thought because it's a semi-detached
Yeah, I know, yeah.
property, it might throw the actual look of
But
the
if
two.
they got away with that roof line,
Mm.
because there'll be another property next door to that one.
Well, you see, Google didn't show that. See, Google only showed the street scene as it was.
Yes.
So I thought, well, because it's attached, I want to see what the mirror image was. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
So
so
which one's the applicant's side on the left-hand side?
the applicant is over here,
Yeah.
and you were looking at that.
I was
weren't you?
looking at that, and I thought, I wonder if they've had a planning application. If so, what have they got?
Right. I mean, I don't think that's a great extension, I have to say, on that far side.
No.
But what you're talking about now, as we go down the hill, sorry, let's just go down there a little bit.
Is it
It's
going
in this area here.
Yeah, and is it going to look really
And
weird?
Do you want, well, Rod's got this here. Have you got that view? No.
That view, is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got this rather funny dormer, and then you've got it going up to a ridge.
I don't really like that.
I don't like that either.
It's just all like there's like a weird, like a hat shape in between where the you'd almost bring the dormer out a bit further so at least.
The only thing that I would say is that those eaves there do line up with those eaves there.
Exactly, that's what Rob was saying.
But we could express concern about the contrived roof form.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Design the roof, the street view.
It looks like it's personal, with like a ponytail coming down its front of its neck.
It's just, it looks like.
Don't you think? And it's like that,
There's no
where the
window-
windows are
There's no window on the lower level.
and it's the other, you could at least put the windows in the middle.
Can we take George off to see, no, we're on camera.
It's like a little building.
Yeah.
I did go down the rest of the street and it did seem to be a mismatch, so you've got to be, I tried to be a little bit fair, because there did seem to be lots of houses did seem to be a bit
They've gone out.
Yes.
I don't have an objection in principle with the development, it's more the design.
Yeah.
It's not a problem with the development.
Wording.
Team, just express concern over streets and
Design.
impact
Impact on the streets.
Yeah.
The design and.
Maybe get any off.
And there's something about the incongruous roof form and dormer window, contrived roof form and dormer window.
Because the rear view actually looks quite good.
Well, I'm sure the review
Yeah.
would, I'm sure, opt for fantastic public accommodation.
You
done?
Okay. Oh, thanks a lot. Right, next one, 2016-1598, raising of the car parking slope. Never seen that before.
You didn't have any objections?
No, it was a slight increase, it wasn't major.
No. So, no joy about them. No one's... now, the same applicant then has put in an application for a single-storey front extension, which obviously the reason why they had to change the car parking slope. Alteration from flat to pitch roof, and alterations from timber cladding to tiles on the front elevation. Neighbours on either side have made comments about it, so
again, I don't think
it's just
it's a major.
no.
It's nothing major, they're just sort of going the front a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's not going to impact.
It's not going to. It's sad that after giving two applications,
Well, maybe
all been linked together.
Well, maybe it's the first one. They put in the first one, and then someone at district advised them that they need an application to change. And because I wouldn't realise that I had to have I wouldn't realise that I'd have to put in an application for slope.
Next one, 2016-1570, part single part, two-storey rear extension, 26 Wordsworth Road. I like what we said.
Yes, existing bedrooms, 2 going on to 4. Parking, none. There's no parking in this house, for this house.
Am I looking at the right one here then? It's one of these older terrace ones, is it? Well, semis. Right.
That one there.
There's definitely no parking in front
That
of
one.
the
Yellow front door.
Yeah, and it's right opposite a junction.
Yes, there's a junction just here.
Yeah, there is residence. I think this is there
Do they
residence
have
parking?
parking elsewhere?
Well, some of the houses further down do. There are some garages, but I don't know if these.
This one.
In their design statement, they haven't addressed parking at all.
There's no one extra bedroom.
And it doesn't show on their plan that there's any parking or where it would be.
Okay, so I think your comment.
Your comment's perfect. Yep. Right, 2016-1579, part single part, two-storey rear extension, followed demolition of the conservatory. Single-storey side extension with steps, loft conversion, with rear-facing dormer window and roof lights, removal of chimney and alterations to the openings, removal of the bay window from the ground floor front elevation and installation of front canopy on Bush Lane. It's all just little amendments to me.
Yeah.
It had, yeah, if we put an application earlier this year, which you withdrew, I think St Albans told me it wasn't acceptable the way it was written, so we withdrew it and put it in again.
He's got a tree application in at the moment as well to reduce the year by 2 to 3
Has he?
years,
It didn't pick that up as well.
yeah.
But I think what you said again, subject to, it's listed, so it's, you know, it's in the conservation area, so St Albans will make sure that it complies with every inch of instructions. Don't know more to go, two more to go actually, but 2016-1584, construction of 4-bedroom dwelling with associated access and parking, the rear of 2931 Wordsworth Road. Difficult one, this one, it's going to have a big impact on 11 Byron. It's going to be very close, when I had a look today, and quite frankly,
That's the back garden.
usually the two back gardens is going to be a long narrow plot, but what we're trying to build, trying to fill the whole width
That's right, it's
across, and I think because of the angle it's going to be at, because number 11 is going to be, and it's going back beyond, I know it'll be the 45-degree thing, but it's, I personally think it's too large for the site.
The other thing was that I expanded the plan.
Yes.
There you can see, this is a submitted plan, I expanded a section of it, and you can see there's space for only two cars in the front.
And 4-bedroom, is it, Rod?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think.
4-bedroom in the roof space? Or is it 4th bedroom in the roof? Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, construction of 4-bedroom dwellings. Yes,
So, but did 4th bedroom include the roof? Bedroom 4 is the roof. And what's this here?
Study, well.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The 5-bedroom dwelling with only 2 parking spaces. No.
I mean, it's size scale bulk again, right?
Yeah. I can understand how they've contrived the plot, but I think, personally, I think the impact on 11 Byron is going to be...
I think if they made it smaller, I think it would be...
Yes, no, that's smaller.
If they reduced it, I think they're trying too much.
I mean, there is an issue about the orientation of the property, the way that it sits on the plot. And how
it's that angle
we look at
compared to the existing property next door.
Because if it was...
So 11 is... yeah, so it's going to be... It's
I mean, there's no 45 degrees,
no,
so that's okay.
it's nothing like that, but it's just the actual, because of the size of it.
Yeah.
This is quite small to me,
Yeah.
I mean, also the street parking is very crowded there as well, so...
And indeed, as far as I'm concerned, for, I believe, 5 bedrooms, you can't put a study in the loft and count it as a study rather than the 5th bedroom.
No, you can't.
So someone must have purchased these back gardens.
Insufficient parking.
Insufficient parking.
Or the people develop.
Just size.
It's very good.
Scale on.
Or it's
Yeah.
got 2 properties.
It's just too big.
Are you recommending refusal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
recommend refusal as
And
it
it is
is
a
as well.
conservation area as well, isn't it? So,
Yeah, it is.
so you can say the impact on the conservation area as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all happy with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Last but not least, don't worry about this one. Nice to end with an easy one. 5016-1591, certificate of lawfulness, existing single-storey rear extension. No comment required?
Done.
Thank you, team.